Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that women go through so many changes in their life during this time. So we've got hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, and of course, this belly fat that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you changing nothing. So you go back to you're cutting calories, you're cutting carbs, you're doing your cardio, all the things that used to work, but for some reason, it's just not working anymore. So our mission here is to tell you about how your body is now inherently different. This is why these methods don't work anymore. We want to educate you on these changes that are happening in your life so you can take care of your body, finally reach your health and fitness goals, and just really live the life that you've always wanted to live and get back to feeling like you again. So today I have a very special guest on the podcast. Her name is Gina. She has been in our program for almost a year now, which is crazy. And I was doing quarterly check-in with her not that long ago because I like to check in on people partway through the program and see how they're doing. And some people like to, some people don't. And Gina and I got talking and her story has been so amazing. She's been working with the wonderful Coach Beth. And so welcome to the show, Gina, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. So Gina, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, how you found me, and like your story, where you were at when you started with us on our program?
So I started exactly 1 year ago today. So it's a bit fitting that it's today, the 1 year anniversary that I listened to your first welcoming podcast. And it was on the recommendation of my sister, who is a healthcare practitioner and was seeing me very, very frustrated and out of character. I want to say almost on the verge of depressive type symptoms, which is really, really out of character for me. I'm the person who sees that cup half full all the time. I'm always encouraging other people in their own lives and giving them strategies to do better, I'm a problem solver, let's just say that. And it just felt like I was hitting rock bottom with my moods. Menopause, symptoms were creeping in, things were happening, body was changing, belly fat for sure. There was everything that you just mentioned in the intro was me. So I'm a 52-year-old, a mother of two boys, and my sons are 22 and 17. So self-sufficient now, but life has never been anything for me but stressful. So I personally think that I'm one of those individuals that can handle a lot of stress. Until now, until you hit 50 and then all of a sudden everything changes because your stress manifests in different ways. And that's what was happening to me. And exactly like you said in your intro, all the things that used to work before weren't working anymore. And alongside of the fact that I also had some health issues that needed to be addressed, that on the recommendation of one of the surgeons that I had seen had suggested that I needed to keep my period for as long as possible. And in your introduction that I listened to a year ago, one of the things was to stabilize your schedule of your period. So where mine was starting, I'm a textbook person ever since I was a teenager, every 28 days, it was starting to become all over the map. And with that, it was getting very frustrating for me to even manage my own symptoms. And come along, I listened to the podcast, and all I can say is that for the first time in my life, it was something that made sense. And I think that that's the most important thing to take away from this, is that when people are listening to you, you're not saying anything that's that the dots don't get connected. It's just makes a lot of sense. And from that, I'm now 1 year in, and I can say that it's been an amazing journey. I loved every minute of it. It didn't come without struggles and setbacks, both physically from, getting injured sometimes, and those things set you back. But it's a journey, and it's taken a while. And that belly fat does come off. Ladies, it does come off, but it takes a long time. I can honestly say that it does happen.
Yeah. So when you first started with us, where were you calorie-wise? Do you remember? I always like to point this out.
Well, I thought I was eating a lot and I thought that I was eating enough, but I was barely cracking 1,000 calories a day. Barely, like 8 to 1,000, maybe 800 to 1,000 calories. And you were mortified when you.
It's so funny because I hop on calls with people or messaging back and forth, and like, I wish you guys could see the faces that I make because I'm just like, first of all, my heart breaks because I love food, and I'm just like, I don't understand how people are doing this. Like, I skip a meal, and Taylor is very aware. He's like, "Oh, did you have lunch today?" I'm like, "No," and he's like, "How about we stop and have a snack?" Like, I just don't know how you guys do it.
Well, I certainly can't do that anymore. I gradually worked myself up with obviously Beth's help, because if it wasn't for Beth, I don't think I would be able to get to where I needed to be. But eventually, at one point, I was having about 2,200 calories. I am in a cut phase right now, so we're back down a bit. But yeah, I eat every hour and a half to 2 hours. Like, I'm constantly eating, constantly. It's amazing. I probably eat more than my kids and my husband.
Which is like crazy because we're just told that we have to eat little to see results. And that's not the case, right? So what kind of things were you trying at first before meeting myself and Coach Beth? What kind of things were you doing to try and get things working?
The same thing that everybody in the universe tells you to do, not to eat your carbs. And, I already came to the program with good eating habits. I've always had a very clean diet. So a lot of that came from the fact that I have children who are gluten intolerant, and we always have to watch what the additives are in foods. So pretty much everything that I made already was from scratch, and everything is loaded with, your proteins, your vegetables, and your carbs. But for me, I was limiting those carbs. I wasn't having the pastas and the rice and the potatoes and now I do. And now, in fact, I'm so conditioned that none of my meals that I eat throughout the day must have a carb. So breakfast has a carb. Well, I have 2 breakfasts. I have my pre-workout, my post-workout, because, you trained me how to do that too. So pre-workout breakfast, post-workout breakfast, then there's lunch, then there's snack, then there's dinner, then there's snack. And it's always got a carb in it, always. Paired with a protein, but always a carb.
Amazing. This makes me so happy. So what were the first changes that you first felt or noticed when you started increasing your calorie intake?
My period came back to every 28 days. Which was the number one goal. I know you ladies might think I'm crazy, but I needed to keep my period because I needed to be able to prolong menopause as long as possible in order to address the health issues. But sleeping better, not as moody, not as depressed. And it was almost instant. I want to say within 4 to 6 weeks, it was like game changing.
Amazing. This makes me so happy. Okay, so we talked about how you started increasing your calories, the benefits that you experienced. What was the toughest part for you? Like, how long did it take you to get to a point where you could cut your calories? Because this isn't something that we typically jump into right away with people. So how long did it take you?
No. And that would be the highest recommendation, is that wait to do the cutting until you have figured out the macros. Okay, so macros for me were the scariest thing. I didn't understand them. And you taught us with all the information that you gave us about, which proteins have the highest source of, which protein, like the meats and the vegetables, for example, and all of those things that have the highest source of protein. When you can get those all down packed and you come up with a meal plan for yourself, you have so much food to eat, you don't even know what to do with yourself. Because it's like having, you can choose to have something that's only going to have like 20 grams of fat and be like maybe the size of your palm, because that's what's highly recommended. Or you can make a kick-ass omelet that's going to have 35 grams of protein and it's going to fill your plate and you haven't even added the veggies yet.
Exactly.
And the slice of toast that needs to go with it.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest things too is people just get so overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? It's super daunting, and just really learning to break it down. But then we figure out what those go-tos, what those staples are in your diet, and people figure out what works best for them, right? So what were the like core pieces of protein or the things that really helped you get that goal? Because I find that protein is always the hardest thing for women to get in.
Yes. And it was for me, and it still is sometimes, because I go through phases where I take out dairy, just again to address one of the health issues. It's not that I'm intolerant to it, but I have to take it out sometimes. And so on the times that I have to take out dairy, it becomes a little bit more challenging. But again, through the lists that you've given us, I was able to hone in and do like little asterisks alongside the foods that I like and the ones that have the highest source of protein. So definitely hit the chicken and the turkey. The egg whites, I go to Costco and I buy the massive pack of egg whites. I have them every day for lunch, and it is my go-to. Whether you're making yourself an omelet, whether you're making yourself egg cups, that's your highest source of protein, and you can pre-make them, that when you find yourself you're deficient at night, you can pop them in your mouth and you're good to go. And yogurt, the Greek yogurt. So I love Greek yogurt. Put it with some fruit, put it with a little bit of granola, and you've got everything you need right there. Whether you're having it for breakfast, whether you're having it for a pre-bed snack, yogurt. That's the yogurt, especially the Greek, is the staple in the house, because if at night I find that I haven't hit my 130, then I know that I can have either a quarter cup, third cup, and it'll put me right where I need to be.
What was the most challenging thing for you when you first came in, do you think? Or like throughout the journey in general?
Probably the initial stages where, like every other diet out there, you go jump on the scale and you go see if there's a difference. And there isn't. And there wasn't. And there still isn't. Because I weigh about 3 pounds more than what I started a year ago. And that's probably the hardest, is because you jump on that scale. And then Coach Beth said, you need to do something about that scale. And of course, I was one of those people, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I weighed myself every day, sometimes twice. And it was the first thing I did after I got ready in the morning, right before I started getting dressed. Let me weigh myself all naked, no jewelry, no nothing, to see what it said. And it's almost as if that's what the marker was for the day. It's like that's what you were going to eat or what you were going to do. And so we hid the scale.
Yep. My husband hid mine too. He's like, enough is enough. And like, I'm a coach. I'm still that way, where it like can totally ruin your day.
So that would be the most challenging, is not to weigh yourself. Buying into the program. You really have to buy into the program. You're not going to see changes immediately. For some people, you will. It all depends on everyone. Mm-hmm. For me, I didn't. I didn't see those changes, not at 6 weeks, not at 3 months. And I'm talking about body composition. Let's be clear. How I felt was almost immediate. I want to say within 4 to 6 weeks, I was feeling different, sleeping better, less moody, cranky, not as bitchy, even keel. I wasn't going from 0 to 100 in like a snap of a finger. It takes a lot. I've gone through a few stressors this year, and I was like, okay, we're going to get through this. Not a big deal. So you weren't going from 0 to 100. So I want to say that sleep, digestion, moodiness, crankiness, period, all those things were immediate. Body composition and that scale, that number on the scale, no, those did not change. It wasn't until I took my 6-month pictures. That's when I saw. And I was like, holy shit. Wow. I remember that day so clearly, because I think I had to speak to Beth right away. I'm like, do you see what I see? Is this for real? There's no camera filter here. And it really was, because you don't see it every day. And my clothes were fitting the same. The difference was my belly was getting flatter, or like, listen, we're all moms. I don't know about you guys, but I have a permanent kangaroo pouch. And I'm not sure it's ever going to go anywhere, but that's okay. That's my kid's pouch. But where I was getting a little bit slimmer in the tummy, I was filling out in the butt. And that's why the clothes fit the same, because the body composition was changing.
Yeah. So like for Gina, like we've used her photos before as like before and afters. And we're like, guess what the difference is between the photos? Weight is exactly the same, but like more toned, more fit. Like you can see there's more muscle. You can clearly tell there's been more muscle mass developed and like she's lost fat mass, which is amazing because like muscle's really hard to put on, especially when our hormones start changing. So like it's awesome.
Yes, it was really difficult to put it on. And then especially when I went through a couple of periods with injuries and had to scale back on the lifting of the weights with particularly one of my arms. Thankfully, I had listened to that podcast that you had about scaling back on the weights during an injury, and it really helped me refocus on other parts of the body. And Beth modified my program so that I didn't feel like I was defeated. And we just worked on other areas until that injury healed, and we're almost back to normal.
Which is awesome. And then what was like, so when you first signed up, I know it's like basically a year ago now, what was like your initial like fear? Because everyone always has like a fear in investing in themselves or like trying something new, right? Especially when we tell you got to eat more, you're like, this doesn't feel like it's going to work.
Yeah. The part about eating more, it doesn't make sense. That part doesn't make sense. You're thinking, how on earth does eating more going to let me lose weight when everybody and their mother up until this point in time told you needed to restrict your calories, you need to restrict your carbs and your fats and this, that, and the other thing. But those things were not working anymore. Like my diet really didn't change in the last 4 or 5 years, yet I was gaining weight. And why? I was exercising, I was eating the same things, I had a clean diet, but I wasn't eating enough. And again, that 4 to 6 weeks, and keep in mind that the coaches don't tell you to go from 1,000 calories to 2,200. It's a gradual increase. We start off with 1,200, then we go to 1,400, then we go to 1,600, and it's not every week. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks, and so it takes a while to get to that 2,200 mark. For me, that's what I was doing, before you can start to see the changes. But it's scary because you're giving faith to something that's completely the opposite of what you've been told to do all your life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was desperate because I needed to feel better. So I needed to buy into the program to see what was going to work. And again, it just made sense. Except for that part, the part about eating more, but it works.
So what were some of the benefits that you think about having Coach Beth with you through this journey? Like what were some big things that really made a difference for you?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. She tweaked things every single week. So that was, if I had a particularly bad week or the stresses were high, then she immediately said, okay, there is no cutting of your calories this week. We're going to push them up. Every time I had an injury, we need to push up the calories because you need to compensate. Otherwise, it's just a spiral circle going on and on and on. When I did get injured, she had to change not only again, the calorie intake and my macros, but also my fitness program. Those needed to be changed every time, I had an injury. Like I have several. So sometimes she had her work cut out for her because if it wasn't my hip, it was my shoulder. If it wasn't my shoulder, it was my knee. So there was always something going on, but not to lose momentum. She was always changing something where I think that if I didn't have her coaching me along the way, I would do what most people do. You quit and you give up.
Yeah. Yeah. Or people are like, oh, I got injured. I have to eat less now.
I have to eat less because I'm resting.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you are resting, but what part of your body are you resting? Sometimes we just need to change. Okay, so we're not going to be lifting 15 pounds today or 20 pounds, but we're going to lift less. And maybe we need to do less reps. Or it depends. Like, about my shoulder injury, you had to, from an osteo perspective, you had to give me those ball exercises against the door frame, which now are paramount to my routine. When I start, I have to warm up with those to loosen up the shoulder so that I can lift 15.
Yeah, exactly.
So it takes time and nothing is going to happen overnight. That's for certain.
So I know during the reverse, it's like very challenging, especially when like you feel the changes, but you don't see changes yet. And they're not as immediate because it's like small and takes time, right? So what were some things that you did? Because I know we talk about mindset so much in the program, and we like have so many videos on it and activity. And a lot of people are like, I don't need that. That's not important. And like as coaches, we can always see like which clients do the work and like put in the effort and stuff like that. And typically the people who do the mindset stuff do significantly better and get to goals quicker and are more resilient and, can handle all the changes. So what kind of things were you doing, or like what mindsets did you have to change, and how did you like work through that? Because that's honestly, I think that's almost harder than like changing the habits and changing the exercise and the nutrition. I almost think that part's more challenging.
Well, make no mistake, CTFO is part of my day every day.
For those of you who don't know, CTFO stands for chill the F out.
Yeah.
It's a very common mantra that we have at Vitality because we're all very high stressed women.
Very. There's a saying out there that says God gives you what you can handle. Yeah, but I don't just have a dinner plate. I have the dessert plate, the salad plate, the appetizer plate, and there's like lots of plates around. And so, yes, and I'm fine to handle whatever God's going to give me. I'm good with that. But the putting the feet up on the wall, it sounds stupid. It sounds silly. People think you're crazy. I don't care because it works for me. I know some people think it doesn't. You really need to be consistent with it and do it. I know it's impossible for some people to do it throughout the day, like it is for me. Even though I work from home, I can't necessarily stop what I'm doing all the time to just go put my feet up. Occasionally I have, if I've had a lot of back pain, I will do that. But for me, my 20 minutes before bed, that's when I do it. And half the time I fall asleep with my feet up in the air because it really does completely de-stress you. So that would be number one, without a doubt, without fail. Like, do you know how there's the non-negotiables that we went through during the program? Mm-hmm. That's one of my non-negotiables. Same with meeting my proteins. But I also start and finish my day every day with the 5-minute journal. I keep it on my bed or your bedside, whichever, because I don't get out of bed unless I filled it in.
Oh, that's so good.
Because it's OCD. I don't know. You can do whatever you want, but it just sets the tone for the day, because if you practice gratitude every single day, it changes your mindset. I have been doing that now for a number of years. And during the program, I actually finished one of my books and did not have a backup. And it went a little askew those weeks that I didn't have it. So that's when I knew, get another one. You can't do without it. And so I got another one. And frankly, it wasn't the same kind. It wasn't the 5-minute journal. That 5-minute journal is built a certain way. It's written a certain way. It really is so that you can hone in on the gratitude. So I threw out the one that I bought and went back to the 5-minute journal and got that one again. And I'm actually ordered a ton. So now I can't run out. And it's a game changer, because even when you've had a shitty day, at the end of the day, you're forced to think about 3 good things that happened that day. And it takes some time sometimes to figure what those 3 things are, but you're going to get them down, and it sets the mindset for the next day.
That's awesome. What do you think was one of the biggest like mindset shifts you had around like food, do you think?
I have a much healthier relationship with food now. I'm not scared of it.
Good.
I was scared this weekend. For example, we were going out for sushi with friends, and I've never gone out for sushi during a cut. I've gone through and that's different, right? Like when you're in a different phase, having sushi is not a big deal. And normally it isn't, but it's got a lot more salt than I normally have. It's got a few other things that I normally don't have. And I was instantly worried about, oh my God, it's going to affect my goals. And I actually had to reach out to Beth. I'm like, Beth, I'm scared. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you've got this. Don't worry. I know you, because you're already going to offset the next few days by making sure you're going to eat clean. And that would be the thing. It's okay to have a crappy day because you had a wedding or you had an event or you had a whatever. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that the next day or the day after that, because it could be a weekend or a week for vacation, you just get right back on board.
Yeah, you just make sure it doesn't snowball, right? Like that's something like people like forget. It's like, you're never going to be perfect. I think people get confused with like perfection and consistency. They're 2 very different things. You're never always going to be perfect. Consistency is, okay, when you mess up, because you will, like that's just a given. There's going to be something that derails you, because that's life. You just make your next choice better. That's all you can do. and it's totally okay. And like, I'm sure Beth never was like, I can't believe you had that sushi.
No. Actually, our biggest laugh is the fact that I love alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. My rule was always no alcohol Monday to Friday, but I would have some drinks on the weekend. Boy, did I learn throughout the program what alcohol does to your sleep. And that is the culprit, ladies. Alcohol messes up your sleep, no matter which way you cut it. I am now down to what I like to call some soda with a splash of gin, because that maybe won't affect my sleep. Because anything else is, forget about the wines. The wines are as absolute no. The sugar content in them will notoriously bite me in the ass at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's just not worth it. I value my sleep now. That was the other thing. So sleep. I was a 5-hour girl. It's 4 to 6 hours, on average throughout the week. That's completely changed. Beth has made me get my 7 to 8 hours per night. And sometimes I even go to 9.
That's amazing.
Like, that's like game changer. I was going to be Bon Jovi, sleep when I'm dead. That's changed. No.
My grad supervisor used to tell me that. And I was like, nah, we're not the same.
No, I sleep now. I value my sleep. And so when I look at that drink, I often think, do I really want it? And I incorporate my drinks into my calorie counts. So it's not like I can't have it. I've already did the math. I can have my gin and tonic. Not a problem. It's in there. The problem is, how am I going to feel later? And it's often not good. And the next day is pretty shitty too. So,
but like, were all of these changes, or like the change in priority, didn't happen overnight, where Beth wasn't like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, did you come to these kind of on your own? Just
on
through,
my
like,
own. So there was no restrictions. I think that that's the other part that is different in this particular program. That whenever you start a program, right from the onset, there's restrictions. You can't do this, can't do this, can't do that. Well, you join this program, and the first thing they're telling you to do is to eat. So that already knocks out that particular theory, because there is no restriction when it comes to that. It's more a modification of what your macros are going to be throughout the day. You're not saying you can't have sugar. You're actually educating everyone and explaining, well, yes, you can have sugar, but X amount of sugar is going to result in this. And for me, it will result in less sleep. So I never was a sugar person to begin with, so it's not something I really had to control as much. Although, in your honor, I had a half a donut this week, and I never eat donuts.
For those of you who don't know, I love donuts. When I travel, the first thing I do is Google where the nearest donut shop is, because I love novelty donuts.
Oh boy, do I have one for you.
Oh.
If you ever come down here, boy, do I have one for you. But yeah, so I think, that's the thing, is that everything is in moderation, and the program is in moderation. Your coach gets to know you, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and she works on those strengths while at the same time working on those weaknesses until they kind of meet. And then you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about your habits, those that are good and those that are bad. And then you make your choices, what you want to continue to live with and what you don't.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. It's like, okay, we provide you with all the information. You still make the choices. Like, we don't force feed you. We don't whatever, right? So it's like, we give you all the information that you need. And then you decide, is it like, what's the bigger priority? Do you value sleep more or the alcohol? Because we figured out that was the thing for you. So it's like, and everyone's going to be different. And it's figuring out, what do you value? What is really important for you? What are the barriers that you're more likely to experience? How can we either avoid these things or prepare for those things? Or what do we do after they happen? It takes a lot. And this is why the people who commit to a year typically do so much better. Because in 6 months, you're still kind of like, I don't know, because depending where you're starting, 6 months might be your reverse. Some people it might be 3 months. Some people it's longer. We have people who've reversed for 8 months before.
And truth be told, at 6 months, when I thought in my mind, because I've done other programs before, I did a program once where in 6 months I lost 50 pounds. And so I thought in 6 months, I'm going to be done with this program. But to be at the 6-month mark and really not have lost any weight, but I was feeling so good Then I was like, do I join for another 6 months? Do I not join for another 6 months? But the investment is in yourself. And the changes that come between 6 and 12 months is far more than in the first 6 months. So everybody's going to join the program for a different reason. And while I joined the program because I wanted to lose belly fat, now if I join the program, and I am going to be extending my program for another year because now my goal isn't to lose weight anymore. I actually don't give a shit anymore about losing weight. Now I'm in it to get stronger because the body composition has changed. I've got muscles that I've never had in my life before. My skin is so much more stronger and firmer, but now I just feel strong. Like it's about power. Like we're all talking about power all the time, and the women and the girl power, and yeah. But now I have the strength behind it. So let's go.
I love that. And honestly, this is like a very common theme that I see with women because the body that you're like looking for typically weighs like 10 pounds heavier than you think it does. Because like muscle it takes up less space, so it's more dense. So you are likely, like, if you want to be fit, toned, like have muscle mass, that body weighs more than you think. But we see this a lot.
I
where
never
people are
understood what you meant by skinny fat. I remember at the beginning when you were doing your podcast and you're talking about skinny fat. I'm like, what does she mean by that? Well, now I know.
Yeah. But now it's like so many women, they go through like a couple fat loss phases, kind of get where they want to be. Or they'll start a fat loss phase and then, you know what? I don't think my like focus is good enough to like really focus for like 8 to 12 weeks. Can we just focus on like building muscle? And then like when life is less crazy, then I can cut my calories. And I'm like, yes, like you figured it out. Like this is like when I get messages from coaches telling me like, hey, so-and-so's pulling out of their fat loss phase. They want to focus on building muscle. I am like, I could jump on a table. Like that's the stuff that makes me so excited.
It's true. It's true. And there is no question that ultimately get rid of the scale, measure your progress on how you feel. That scale only makes us feel like shit. There's no good that comes out of that scale. So you hit your goal one day, but then the next day it goes up 2 pounds. What good is it? It does absolutely nothing. Let's get rid of the scale. And the one thing I'm going to be doing different in my next year is that I'm going to start my year with measurements.
Good job.
Let's measure this time, and photos, of course. But let's measure to see how big those muscles are going to get. That's my goal this year. Has nothing to do with weight anymore. But I really couldn't give a shit.
Oh, amazing! Beth is going to listen to this and she's like going to cry, guaranteed.
Listen, she's paramount in the whole process. She's been patient with me, and she's modified what she needed to modify in order to get me through those tough times. And she's extremely sincere and always willing and able to answer all my questions when I need them.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. I love her to pieces. She is like the clown in the group. She is the funniest sense of humor ever. Like our group chat, it's a work group chat, but you wouldn't think so between like the different gifts that her and Sam put in there. I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys, what are you doing? That's super funny. And we have a good time. Did you find it hard to make the changes? Like, I know like the mental aspect of like having to eat more was challenging, but what about like actually working it into your lifestyle? Like, was it like overly complicated for you, did you feel? Or how was that for you?
Wrapping your head around eating more it takes time. It's not going to happen in one sitting, in 1 week, or in a couple of weeks. It's a gradual thing. And that's why it's important when your coaches gradually increase your calories. They're doing it for a reason. They're not going from 1,000 to 2,000 because it's way too much. Your body can't handle it anyway. So it's a gradual increase. I do remember at one point when I was at 2,200 calories and it was like impossible for me to hit those 2,200. I know for some people that they're like, I'm small. You're seeing this just a small screen right now, but I'm 5'2". So I'm not very tall. So hitting 2,200 calories was difficult for me. I was putting butter on everything. Like that was bad. Just get the butter. Just get the butter and slather it all over. And that's how we were increasing calories because we needed to find a way. I couldn't consume it in volume. So we needed to have some caloric things in there. So
yeah. Did it change like your daily routine though? Like, do you feel?
Yes. So I had to change my daily routine. Like I said, And ladies, this fasting nonsense needs to stop too, because it does not work. Oh my goodness. Such a happier person now that I eat breakfast really early in the morning. I did eat breakfast. I wasn't like I didn't eat breakfast, but I wouldn't have breakfast till 10. I have breakfast at 7 now. So I have my pre-workout snack, which you preach. Breath preaches. You must eat before you work out. It is a game changer because now you can lift more. And the other thing is that if you know you're going to be lifting the next morning, make sure you have lots of carbs the night before for dinner, because you need those carbs the next day so that you can lift. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to lift. So, like everything there isn't anything you've communicated in the entire program that isn't paramount or essential to success. So, eating in the morning, I had to change the pre-workout. I work out in the morning. For me, that's the time that works the best. Everybody's got their own thing, but I'm the get it done girl. If I don't get it done in the morning, it's not going to get done at another time during the day. I'm too tired at night. I get up at 5 a.m, and now you want me to work out at 6 o'clock at night? It's not happening. It's not happening. So yes, I had to change things so that I get up earlier in the morning. I have my pre-workout snack. I work out. I have my second breakfast. And then the day's done. So, and working out, I didn't like it. I'm not one of those people like you are that went to the gym from when you were 12 or whatever, played sports. I played 0 sports. I'm an artistic person. I paint murals. I'm not, I don't enjoy sports. I watch them, but I don't play them. And did I go to the gym? Absolutely not. Which is why the training part for me was essential, because I don't like the gym. I don't like going to the gym. I think it's a waste of time driving to and from the gym when I've already got such little time in a day to work out a gym. So Beth knew what I had in the house. I gave her all the equipment that I had, and she has consistently created an amazing program using what I have.
Amazing.
And that takes, so I went from, oh God, I got to work out today, to okay, today I get to work out. So it takes a year. It didn't happen overnight. That took a while. But now I can't wait.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to know, it takes time, and it's not like you decided to do this right off the hop and everything changed. It was okay, let's change that you're eating in the morning first and make sure that it doesn't throw off your entire day. Cool. Now we've got this nailed down, and now let's move on to the next thing. And coaches will chat with you and be like, how doable is this? Do you think this is possible? How can we make it as easy for you as possible? Because we want you to be successful. We want this to be the last thing that you ever have to do. And you feel good, you feel confident, you have the resources, you learn the things. So you're not just following a meal plan and then you're done and okay, how do I keep this? You learn what it means to have a healthy plate, or what a balanced meal looks like for you, or how often you have to eat. Because some people it'll be longer, some people it'll be shorter, how big the meals are. Everything's going to be based off of you and your lifestyle and any chronic conditions you may have, or things that we need to address health-wise. Everything is super individualized. And this is why cookie cutter things don't work and haven't worked, because you don't learn anything.
No. And, I have my list of medical issues, and it was paramount that you address them. My coach Beth addressed them, and we worked with what those were, because we had to keep them in mind with everything I was doing between diet and working out, and those chronic conditions had to be always kept at the forefront so that they didn't regress or progress, whichever way you want to look at it. So no, that was paramount as well. And the relationship with food is probably huge. I don't fear it. But same with working out. My relationship with working out, I look forward to it. And who knew that? Guess what? You know what? You need to rest your muscles. You need a day off. These people that work out at 5 times, 6 to 7 times. No, guess what? 3 times a week is actually okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty that I didn't do 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. 3's good.
Exactly. And again, these things will take time, but it always makes me happy. Honestly, some of the best stories are oh yeah, I remember one woman messaging me and being yeah, I actually had pizza with my family when we went out for supper instead of just ordering a salad. And my kid almost fell out of his chair. I'm like, this is huge. Like, people don't realize how much that affects your kids, but also it's like, it's a part of life, and food brings people together. When people like can actually enjoy their food again, it's it makes me so happy. Like, honestly, it could make me cry. Like, it just makes me so happy.
It just makes a difference because, again, the program isn't restrictive in what you eat. So you can continue eating all the things that you enjoyed in life. You are just now going to be more mindful if it's something that's not super healthy, then maybe you're going to cut back on the portion. Or it really is just an adjustment of numbers. And then when you see, for me, especially during that time where we had to hit those 2,200 calories, I thought in my mind, how on earth am I ever going to get to that amount? But you learn how to maximize volume from the list that you gave us. And that's how I was able to coordinate, okay, well, if I've got to hit this target, these are the things I'm going to put into the diet and fill the holes first, and then everything else will just come. And that's how you learn. So you're not telling me I need to have shrimp every day, or you're not telling me I need to like take out the ham. You're teaching how to have those very things that you love and still feel like you're living. Having said that, because I eat so much, I really don't have room for the number one things that I used to love in life, which was chips. My ideal dinner was a bag of chips and a glass of wine. Like, that's like amazing, right? But not anymore. But I used to be a chip eater. I really don't crave those anymore. Not when you're eating so much throughout the day. There's just no need for it. So,
yeah. No, is there any like other like big monumental things you want to do, like say before we wrap up here? Like, I love this because like you stuck through it and like you utilized Beth, right? Because the people who are the most successful, they ask the most questions. They ask for support and they're dedicated to learning, as opposed to just being like, just telling you what to do and I'll follow it. And it's like, yeah, we can do that and we will help you through that. But learning is such a huge part of this because that's going to be your long-term success.
I can honestly say that after doing this for a year, I know that this is what I'll be doing for the rest of my life. Like,
and are you okay with that?
And I'm okay with that. Are you kidding? I think I've lived my best life in terms of food and exercise this past year.
That's amazing.
For me, not everybody, maybe people are much more health conscious and more fitness oriented prior to this, but I wasn't. So again, I was that typical skinny fat that you were talking about, because I remember I still weigh the same amount that I weighed last year. So, but I'm so much stronger. And for me, that is far more important than anything else. Healthy relationship with food. I don't look at it as, oh my God, I can't have that. Yeah, you can. You're just not going to have it 5 days a week. That's the only difference, really. Accountability is essential, in my opinion. When you want to do if you're looking for a subtle change, then perhaps the program's not for you. But if you're looking to make some serious changes because you've hit a point in your life where you're just not happy, which is where I was, put the time in, do the coaching. The coaches are required, in my opinion, because there's so many things that happen along the journey, that you need the coach. You need it to help you with injuries. You need it to help you to tweak when you're having those stress levels. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to increase? What are you going to decrease? It's a science. That's the other thing I've learned. This whole entire process, it's a science. It's actually quite cut, clear, and dry. But we need somebody there to support and figure out how to work it. I don't think I would be as successful if I didn't do it without the coach, which technically I could stop now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm not.
Yeah, you just took you got the little training wheels on still. That's all. It's just to make sure. Because for Gina here, she has gone through the program. She's been successful. She's got a good base, obviously. Like, just talking to her, you guys can tell, she could probably coach now. Like, she's got this down pat.
Yep, I could. I got those macros down packed. I'm good to go.
So for her, we have what we call our VIP program. And what it is, you're still in coaching. You just don't have as often your check-ins because you're good, but it's just making sure that like if something comes up, you do have access. You still have access to all the resources, all the trainings, all the guides. You still have access to your coach. Just your Zoom call and check-in is only once a month as opposed to week and bi-weekly. So it's slowly weaning off and this is normal. A lot of people are like, okay, I don't think I need to check in every day. I don't think I need to like check in every week, but I'm not ready to like completely soar on my own. So Gina's graduated now into the next program, which is super exciting. And she's earned it. She's done a great, great job. So you should be really proud of yourself.
Well, thank you. And like I said, life-changing is all I can say. It's been it's been amazing. And I am now 1 year later in a much happier spot than I was. So for that, I am grateful to the program, grateful to you, grateful to Beth. Because I fear that one of the things that typically happens to women would be what always happens. You feel like shit. You know you feel like shit. So you go to the doctor. And what's the doctor going to do? He's going to prescribe meds. I'm not one of those individuals that will take meds just willy-nilly without a really good reason and not after I've exhausted absolutely every possible avenue that exists. And that was the other motivating factor. I needed to exhaust this possibility. And you see, it works.
You did it. And I'm so proud of you. I know Coach Beth is so proud of you. And you crushed it. You like, even with like setbacks and stuff, you did what you could. You figure out what those minimums are and you crushed it.
No, and thank you. But again, it was, those setbacks were, you really do feel defeated when they happen. And I don't think I would have continued if it wasn't with the support, because it's without it, you wouldn't. You would revert to your old habits. And I think that that's the other thing too, is that between month 1 and month 6, at 6, you're just getting the grasp of these skills, if you will, that you've now learned throughout this entire process. You've learned some skills, but you haven't made them a habit yet. Between 6 and 12, that's when you start to make a habit out of them, because now you've seen the changes. So now you're thinking to yourself, okay, if I do this, this and this and this is going to happen. So then it becomes a habit. And I think that, yes, it's true what they say, it takes 21 days to form a habit. But when you've spent a lifetime doing it one way and now you're being told to do it another way, it's going to take a lot longer than 21 days.
Oh yeah, it takes longer to break a habit than to build a new one, actually. There's like science behind it. It's like pretty wild.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Gina, and sharing your story. I know Coach Beth is she's going to love this.
Well, we make a good team.
Thank you so much. Yes. Amazing. So thank you so much for being on. This was absolutely wonderful. And if anyone has questions about coaching and stuff, you can message me. I will always help.
Yes, she does at all hours.
Yeah, I'm trying to do better at like less late night stuff, but it still happens. If Taylor's watching football, I'm probably on the couch working, to be honest.
Well,
that's okay.
It's those boundaries that you teach, right? You teach us about boundaries. You got to take those boundaries.
It's just hard because I love it.
I know.
So it doesn't feel like work sometimes, but
yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then we'll also put the link for the journal in the show notes for you guys as well, if that's something you want to get into. I think it's a really great idea. Mindset makes a big difference.
Big difference. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Until next time, talk to you all next time. Bye.